We're going to talk about a very important word that every man should understand and have an approximation on within your own life. And that word is dependency, because dependency can make a man feel incredibly small. Because when you're dependent on other people, you start compromising. You stay quiet when you want to speak. You tolerate treatment that you don't deserve because your hands are tied. But when you have breathing room, all right, when you're not dependent on somebody, specifically when you are financially independent, even just a little, everything shifts. At the point that something doesn't mesh well with your morals, your integrity, or your belief systems, there's no need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. You can simply just say, I'm out, or no thanks. And that's it. Be able to just walk away. One of the MT Army ambassadors hit me up recently talking about that he felt stuck at the workplace. And I let him know my particular story about when I felt stuck, because that stuck feeling was my dependency on the situation. So my hands were tied. Nevertheless, rewind back to about 2019. All right. I've been working at an organization for about 4 or 5 years or so, was up for promotion, applied to a couple of different jobs within the same company and end up getting one. So I switched roles to another job, and this was my first time needing to people lead within the organization. And I was super excited to be able to do so. I thought that being a people leader was going to be easy for me, and I gave it my all. But the person that I was assigned to people lead, for a bunch of different reasons, we did not mesh. The reasons are not important. But what is important is that because we did not mesh, because we were not working together, the result that I was accountable for was not good. And no matter how much that I tried to work with this person within this position, it just kept getting worse. And not just from a results perspective, but also the communication from that person that I was supposedly managing began to get disrespectful. And although I wanted to keep a professional rapport with this person, it was clear that this person did not want to keep it with me. Then I began to ask myself, what is it about this situation that I feel so beholden to, that I feel so tied to? Yes, I want to be able to do a fantastic job at work, but why do I feel stuck with this person in this situation? And it occurred to me that because this is my place of business, that this is my only source of income, I am dependent on this role, this current role that I am unhappy in. And I kept thinking to myself that I can't live like this forever. So I made a decision that effectively changed my life forever, because this was the start. And what did I do? Instead of overinvesting time into my 9 to 5 in order to fix the situation that I was beholden to, I decided to work on my 5 to 9. And I tried a few 5 to 9s, but the one that I settled on is the one of how you found me right now. So me back in 2019, it was YouTubing how to YouTube, free online courses, hours of practice. And I worked so fundamentally hard at getting this correct. I slept less. I said no to parties. I said no to friends' events. And there's some people within my life that I actually began to ignore because their interruptions got me off of my track of progression to something else, to perhaps not be so dependent on this 9 to 5. And then several months later, a video hit. But it didn't stop there, because that video hitting, I got even more hungry. I learned even more. And the couple of dollars that were coming in, I ensured that I was investing. It wasn't a flashy amount of money, but it was steady at that current junction. But every step that I took brought me closer and closer to more freedom. And as all this was going on, I was still in the workplace doing my thing. But I noticed a change within me, because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I wasn't rushing to prove myself anymore. I spoke slower when I was dealing in the workplace and specific to this associate. It wasn't rush. I didn't feel this tremendous doubt, right? This imposter syndrome anymore. So because I was able to move different due to not feeling dependent on my 9 to 5, people started to treat me different because they noticed the change within me. About a year and a half after that, after tirelessly continuing on the path, continuing to grind, my second place of business was now making more money than my main place of business. But this isn't about the money or the dollar amount, because I want you to understand that money doesn't define your worth. Never will. But the independence, that's what's important here. That's what's powerful. The power to say, I don't need to do this anymore. This isn't for me anymore. And you can leave with your dignity still intact. You just need enough room to breathe and to choose. Flash forward to the summer of 2021, and by this junction, most of the world was still at home working every day. Management wanted me to come back into the office. I obviously wanted to stay back at home and work because it gave me the opportunity to do both roles at the same time, the role of which that they did not know that I had at that junction, let alone know that I am no longer financially dependent upon the organization. So then they dropped that requirement on me. You need to come back into the office. And because I have spent that time grinding, I declined. I want you guys to understand as I talk through all of this that a strong man isn't loud. He's not desperate to be seen, bump the fame, the status. That's not why I do this for. He doesn't seek approval from every room that he enters. He builds value in silence. He sharpens his skill. He protects his time. And then most of all, he stays in absolute control of his life, not being dependent on anybody, because control is peace, and peace is the real flex. So listen, I've talked about my story, but I wanted to also talk through some tangible action steps that anybody can apply to improve their situation, to how to build peace for yourself. First off, I learned a skill, and I suggest that you do the same. Just make sure that the skill is something that you can get paid for. Design, coding, writing, marketing. Take freelance work or small contracts with the skill set that you've built. Use that income to pay down all of your debt and build your emergency fund and build your savings. After your emergency fund has been built up, invest in income producing assets like real estate or in a stock market, index funds, and then build slowly, consistently, with discipline. And you must understand, because I get this all the time too, dudes that are like 27 talking about that they feel like they wasted all of their time in their life. You have so much damn time on this planet, so don't rush. Play the long game, because inevitably this game isn't about impressing anybody. It's not about the material. It's not about Lambos, about watches, seeking attention by going viral. It's about never feeling stuck or dependent again. Because when a man has options, he moves differently, he relates differently, and he lives on his own damn terms. So the question that I have for you guys before getting out of here is, what skill set are you building on right now? We must be continuous learners out here, all right? So let's walk this path quietly and with purpose, because you're not alone. Let's get active.